Thor Love and Thunder is an embarrassing SNL sketch of a Marvel movie. Taika Waititi's Thor Ragnarok was an extremely successful film, so it's no wonder why Marvel issued another one in the series. The problem is, Marvel failed to ask themselves one question: is this necessary? The short answer is no. Thor used to be the most boring Avenger, which really speaks volumes when Hawkeye is a more interesting character than you are. I've tried watching Thor The Dark World 3 different times and I've only made it 30 minutes in at most. Waititi decided to take Thor in a very comedic direction, which was absolutely the right thing to do for the character. Because the response from Ragnarok was so praised, Waititi really doubled down on the absurdity of Love and Thunder, and the movie really suffered from it. Some of the jokes were so unfit for this movie that I could only just feel the awkwardness in the theater. No one was laughing at all.
Human handshake, to the Asgardian shake, into the snake that you cannot trust.
Really dragging this out.
And finish the classic Asgardian high one. Let's go.
The premise of this movie is Thor is trying to discover who he is.
I need to figure out exactly who I am.
Even though he did that in the first movie. And Thor The Dark World. And Avengers Age of Ultron. And Thor Ragnarok. And Avengers Endgame. But also, Gore the God Butcher is killing gods, and Natalie Portman returns as Jane Foster, and maybe even least importantly, female Thor. Marvel really hyped up Jane Foster in this movie, and I've heard her comic book run is fantastic. At the end of this movie, she just dies without accomplishing anything. Valkyrie also returns, and does nothing. Korg returns, and dies, but doesn't die, and doesn't shut the fuck up.
Come, gather round and listen to the legend of the Space Viking, aka the God of Thunder, aka Thor Odinson.
Can you shut the fuck up?
Christian Bale takes his turn at being a bland Marvel villain. His motivation in this movie is that his daughter dies, he visits a god, picks up a cursed sword, and then it makes him want to kill the gods? Huh? And then at the end, he's just like, oh, I'm just a guy. And then he also dies. They barely even show us the relationship between Gore and his daughter. So like, why should we even care? The marketing of this movie also made it so disappointing. I would happily watch anything with the Guardians in it, and Marvel really showed them off in the trailer. At the end of Endgame, it's even revealed that Thor retires as King of Asgard and becomes a Guardian. But then he just leaves them 10 minutes into this movie, so like, you know, what the fuck. They also show off Zeus a lot in the marketing, but then he just dies 5 minutes into his appearance. Apart from he's actually not dead. 3 different characters in this movie have fake deaths. It's like the Loki situation all over again. This movie was honestly such a headache to get through. Waititi really needs to learn when to pull the brakes on the comedy and actually tell a story. Leaving these actors with no background in comedy to improvise is also just a recipe for disaster.
Are you packed? Yes. A hand grenade?
No, it's a portable speaker.
Sure, it works for Thor Ragnarok, but at least Waititi had more of a sense of direction rather than just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
So I was thinking, when we get to the bad guy, what about if I had like a cool catchphrase like, eat this hammer? Or like, check out my hammer.
When I look back at the Infinity Saga, I see all these movies building up to something. Which happened to be Infinity War and Endgame, except when it isn't. When I look at Phase 4 so far, I can't imagine how any of this shit is going to go anywhere. This especially applies to Love and Thunder. When the movie ends, Thor is just in the same place that he was in at the start of the movie. Like, how did this movie end up being so much worse than Black Widow?